Hi, folks. Welcome to today's Microsoft Agent Framework office hours. Um, we have these meetings. Let me just go to the next slide. Every week for US and EMEA at 9 a.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. UTC or Central European time in summer. We also have monthly APAC meetings at 4 p.m. Pacific every second Wednesday of the month. We have a fairly small representation today, since a lot of folks are on holiday at the moment, but we will try and answer as many of your questions as we can. Before we start, um, anyone from the team want to highlight anything from this week? I think, Roger, you might be the only one here, but feel free to jump in if you have something you wanted to share.
No, basically this week were more regular updates. Nothing as a new feature, at least from my side. Pretty much.
Cool. Thanks. In that case, we can probably jump into questions. So if anyone has any questions for us today, uh, either raise your hands or type into the chat, and we can see if we can help. Hi, team. So Jose is straight off the bat curious on what the language support goal is going forward with the Go edition. That's a good question, Jose. It's probably more of a Sean question. um, I'm not aware of what the plans are for additional languages at this time. Um, but definitely, I'm sure Sean might have some more to say about it in when he's back from holiday, and whether we have any plans for that. I'm probably not the best person to answer that, so I'm not going to speculate if that's okay. Um, on to Chris. I wasn't fast enough. I just noticed the recordings link on the first slide and was racing. I can go back there to the first slide quickly, Chris, if you want. It is ak.ms math office hours playlist. Type it into the chat as well for you. Um, I see there's a question from Swapnil. Morning, unable to hear anything. Oh,
I hear you, Wesley. I think it's on his side.
okay. Jose, can you hear us? I did. You're usually quite vocal when I say something, so can anyone hear us who is... Oh, Rasmus can hear us. Okay. Um, yeah, I'll just type for swap no. I'm just, let me see. What is the next question on the list? I can hear one. Is there, I'm not sure who was first. James, you've got a hand up. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Oh, no, I didn't have a question. I was trying to respond. I can hear you.
Ah, okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for responding. Um, I see there's a question from Arnag. Is there a math skill that can be used to guide agent dev with Codex, Copilot, etc.? Arnag, we don't currently ship any skills ourselves. We obviously do have, the ability for you to add your own skills, but we don't have any out of the box skills that we ship ourselves. Um, and well, I assume you're asking specifically here. Oh, actually, now that I'm reading it again, I think what you're, my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Please come off of mute if I'm not understanding correctly. But understand that you're saying that you're asking, is there a skill that you can use with Copilot for math coding? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
I don't believe we have anything like that at the moment, but it is something we've discussed. Um, if you want to log an issue in the repo just to get it tracked, that would be quite useful, and then we can get it prioritized and start looking at it maybe. Because I do think this is something quite useful. It is something we've mentioned, but the more feedback we get from users via an issue and upvotes, the more signal there is for us to prioritize that.
Yeah, just to add a little more context. So, like, I'm building agents using Microsoft Agent Framework in Python, and then I run into an issue where I am prompting like Copilot to say like, "Hey, this is the feature I want to build," and sometimes it figures it out, but then other times I have to tell it to like, "No, go look at the documentation here."
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sort of like figure it out. Instead of that, I'd rather have it where it picks up the skill, knows exactly where to look for the documentation, and then design everything according to uh, that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know Edward. He's at a conference today, so he's not able to make it. But he's been thinking about this as well, and I'm not sure it's been prioritized yet, but it's definitely something we are considering. Sorry,
I can,
Roger, go ahead.
yeah, I can jump in really quick as well. On our current repo, in the Agent Framework repository, we do have the agents.md that you can point your CLI to, where it will give more details about the structure of the project. I just post one link for the .NET, but we do have also for Python. So depending on what is the port that you are working towards, you can just point your agents to look at our skills as well as our agents MD. And maybe that could be a good starting point to even write your own skill on top of your own context using an existing skill from Agent Framework. That would be my starting point if that helps. Makes sense?
Yeah, but that's for like developing the agent framework library itself, correct? Not to like how to use the agent framework library.
The information on the skill pretty much describes how the project works. So the agent can figure out how to apply that knowledge to your specific use case. It's more like how the project works, how the component works. It works also to develop something internally in the repo, but as well how to use those components for yourself. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say that that's a little bit, it's for, I mean, maybe it needs to be exposed at a higher level in the directory structure than, because the agents.md is for the agent if you're working on the on the project itself. Like if I was contributing to the agent framework project, then the agents.md would be helpful. It points to, it says look at the .github skills. Well, those skills are useful when you're using GitHub Copilot, but like if you were using some other agent, like let's say you were using OpenCode or something else, then like it needs to be in .agents like skills folder somewhere. So, or even for GitHub Copilot, because I know GitHub Copilot also picks up skills outside of the GitHub folder as well. It doesn't have to be in .github. So like there's a general standard now. So I think I see what you're saying, but then there's like a little more digging to be done. Like I have to clone the repo in order to get that information. But it would be helpful to just have that as like available either in its own repo, like that is separate from the separate from the agent framework, so I can just point it to that, like here are all the skills to use the agent framework, and just copy that into my set of skills. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yep. But yeah, you don't. From my own experience, I don't have to clone any repos. Normally, the agent uh, is smart enough to go to the web and get the information from the open source, of course, repo from Agent Framework. So yeah, but on the other aspect, yeah, you can generate your own skills and have your own context. That probably will be the idea for yourself.
Yeah, and I think your point is valid anyway, Anurag. We should have a skill, and like I said, one of our colleagues has been thinking about it. But definitely, if you log an issue,
Yeah.
then that's another good signal that we can use to get it prioritized.
I can definitely log an issue.
And then you can see as well how it progresses.
Right.
It's a useful way to see how things are going. So yeah, thank you. Definitely a good suggestion. Definitely something we need to improve on. I see this question from Rasmus. Is AF actually using the OpenAI WebSocket for tool calls or still preview? I don't believe we're using OpenAI WebSocket at the moment for tool calls. I don't know, Roger, if you have any context of this either.
No, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, or anyone else from the team who might be online. I don't believe we're doing anything with that yet. And as you're pointing out, Rasmus, MS-Learn MCP does a good job of helping with AF. And that's actually where we want to invest as well, and see if we can actually get skills through the MS-Learn MCP skills service. But that requires a little bit of investigation. Anything you want to add, or is that okay, Rasmus?
No, that's okay. But also there's Context 7, which is a open source project that rag all open source GitHub projects. I have a link further down.
Okay.
But regarding WebSockets, that could be really cool because it really makes it much faster to do tool calling.
Right.
But it might be the underlying NuGets that are not ready yet.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's looking at that at the moment, but it's a good call. I don't think I'm not aware of anyone having looked at it yet. So if you maybe actually open an issue for it as well, and as a feature request, so that we can maybe start prioritizing it as well.
Yeah, okay, sure. I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, there's a question from Jose. This one is for you, Wesley, me. What is the plan or plans for Agent Harness? This is definitely very powerful and is telling a nice story with all the memory capabilities that were recently added. Some new capabilities can be the core of a very powerful thing. My thinking goes, this is like Lego pieces. That you can have memory proper skills, ability to code, etc. So our priority at the moment, and by the way, Jose, please come off of mute if you want to add anything to that before I maybe answer. If you want to add anything or say anything on that further.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, nice. No, I'm saying that this goes in a nice direction, right? So all the components are being built to provide memory to this agent harness to make it pretty configurable. right? I think it's a core feature for some standalone agent that can do a lot of things, and it's super powerful, can iterate. And I'm curious in what you have in mind for or the team has in mind for the evolution, right? I think I continue before. I also provided and discussed privately with you. I share this agent about that can hook in and provide ready-made middleware in the shape of gates. As far as I understood, as I saw in the code, there is no system that limits or checks if any action of the agent harness may be damaging or pernicious, or if something is injecting. So one MCP we use adds a hijack, you know. So I build this thing for the security part. So I can provide some samples if you want in the repo as well. But just I'm very curious in what's the future for agent harnesses. This is the part
Yeah,
that I love the most from agent framework in a long while.
yeah, yeah. So at the moment, the priority is first to get the core agent harness piece um, to stable, so out of experimental and out of preview, um, and try and get all of the pieces like, there's a lot of components there that are built into the harness that you can use separately, but are also shipped as part of the or integrated into the harness, like planning and mode and file memory and um, file access and so on. Most of those we want to get to V1 stable ASAP, preferably in the next few days. There are some of them that will take a bit longer because we're not confident yet that the functionality is ready. It requires more like file access specifically, I think is quite tricky. I don't think the functionality that we have is ready yet. There is definitely more thinking required around it and more features that we need to integrate. And I think with these, um, one of the big problems with making them stable is as well that even a even changing the tools is a breaking change, because somebody may have an approval set up on that tool name, and if the tool name changes, that's a breaking change. So we do need to think very careful about these before we say that we're stable and we're therefore not going to make any breaking changes. But a lot of the features we want to make stable in the next few days. Then after that, there's work around building out more opinionated harness types to showcase the type of functionality that you can build with these, potentially as samples, but they should be kind of fairly fully featured and good examples of what you can do. There's and then there's the type of stuff that you're talking about as well, which is more governance type work, making sure that we limit, we do things like limiting agent execution by tokens consumed, limit the number of repeated function calls. Let me see what else is there. There's some there's some related somewhat related stuff as well, like for example switching providers during the or automatically switching providers. For example, the harness you may want to have the harness do some tasks with one model or one service, and other tasks with a different service, and you should be able to have heuristics or maybe another model choose which model to use for the upcoming piece of work. So those are also things that you need to look at. So there's still a lot to do. But yeah, I hope that helps give you a sense of where we're going.
Yes, it does. Thanks so much. I'm sharing a sample where these number of loops and iterations. This is one of the gates I added, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you can check it.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I'm sharing that now, so you can take a look here. I think this is in a good shape to be able to protect, because at the moment I think there's not nothing implemented or nothing in the scope. So um, yeah, feel free to reuse and and integrate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I see Rasmus shared the Contact 7 MCP link there as well. See, there's a link from Joji about skills in Agent Framework. Shout if any of you have anything to add.
Yeah, the skills part, it's I think somebody asked, I don't think it's like when I do is like then I create like high level agent MD, like the thing, something that you have, then you can add your own hooks. Like for example, whenever I generate an MD, I want to standardize and lint it, so I run a command. So it's a lot more personal. And let's say if I'm using .NET and I want to use some awesome Copilot skills and I add it. So I don't know if it's possible to come up with a generic thing. It's something that each one of us, based on what we are building, if in .NET, I can use the Copilot skills, and then I can have a local skill that's very specific to the thing and the generic scale across. So I think there is enough out there for you to build the skills, the rules, and target it to your specific things. So I'm not sure what else you can do to add to that.
Yeah, I think in my mind anyway, agents.md is typically for what you were saying. It's like, how you want to set up your local environment and how you want your local dev experience to run, whereas skills is something that the agent can pull in ad hoc if to give it certain capabilities. And I think that is kind of a good place for agent framework skill to come in, to tell it like, this is how you use agent framework, this is how you code against it, etc. This is where the docs are, this is where the samples are, this is the list of features, etc. And I do think we can probably do something there to to make that experience better and to stand up a skill that folks can just pull in very easily. Jose?
Yes, I would add there that if you need help with development in agent framework, you can try also Math Doctor. I mean, this has been like covered here in these open hours. It can help you in migrating from one version of agent framework to another. It can help you with assessing your current status of how you're using it. It can tell if you're using any obsolete methods as well, right? You know that things change very quickly, and suddenly, like last week, we can have the skills which now is no longer preview and it's general availability, and soon things can happen as well with agent harness. So Math Doctor can help you with keeping that up to date. I will share the link also here in the chat.
Awesome, thanks, Jose. And I see you have another question there, and a continuation one. Did you check the agent eval samples for Gatekeeper? Provides easy to plug in gates, pre-made middleware to protect and shield tool calls. I haven't yet, but I haven't gotten to the work yet around doing the gating piece. So when getting there, I'll definitely take a look. Thanks for the reminder. Anything you wanted to add there?
No, I'm at the moment developing more gates to make
Okay.
this kind of a plugin system. So if anybody has any feedback on what you would like to do, one I have in mind is one which makes a bit of a generic jailbreak check with some OWASP red team detection components that are also in agent-eval. And the idea is to do a bit of a find out, check out the prompt or the instructions that go reach an agent and assess if any of them tries to diverge the behavior and identify that and then block that. That's one of the ones which is still pending. So if anybody has any idea of Gate, I'm very open to feedback.
So thanks, Jose. I see Anurag just posted an example there of a Langfuse skill, and then Randy shared that I don't know if folks are familiar with it, but Microsoft Learn, so the learn.microsoft.com website where our documentation is as well. So learn.microsoft.com/agent-framework. If you, it has an MCP server that you can put in your agent that will allow it to go and search the documentation and find relevant information to the type of docs that you're looking for. I believe as well that there might be something there with skills as well, which is something that my colleague is going to look at to potentially bring a skill into that MCP server as well. So watch the space and hopefully we can do something there. Thanks for sharing the links, Jose. Rasmus, I see you have another question. Do you want to kind of mute and talk about it, or?
Yeah, we just got 5.6 released, of course, and there's a bunch of new interesting features in it. So in usage, there's a new cache write numbers, so we can see what it actually costs us for the input cache now that they charge for it. And there's also the new preserved reasoning over calls, where you send the reasoning between calls. Then there's the new multi-agent feature, where you actually call one agent, but it behind the scenes spin up multiple behind the scenes. And then they have the same thing as Kodak and Hyperlight with the new JavaScript. Should we open issues for these, or do you already have something there?
I don't believe we have anything, but yeah, definitely open issues. Some of these may, depending on what the work is, it might need to go into the Microsoft extensions issues, where the chat clients live for OpenAI. But if you're not sure, just open it in Agent Framework, and we can liaise with whoever's required and try and get things added. Thanks for the call out. That makes a lot of sense.
Cool. Yeah.
Any other questions from folks?
I have a question on design, if you could help me. So one of the things that we are building is like we tune domain-specific topics and entities and create metadata-driven knowledge repository. And then when input comes, we apply the same thing, we extract it, and then we have a bunch of tools. So I just want to ask you, something like Magentic, where in the Magentic, you have a bunch of agents, you give it a goal, and the Magentic decides which agent to use and what to do. Is it possible saying that, okay, here are the topics, here are the entities, here is the intent, here are the rules, and we want the agent to see, okay, what is the best way to do this? Okay, for this, you have to do a semantic search. For this, you have to call an API. And then come up with a recommended plan and have the user say yes or no, add to this, so that we can progressively come up with the right execution, like either a workflow order or use of chat client LLM. What would you recommend that I approach this with the agent framework?
Yeah, I think there's. I think for something like this, you can if you use like a really good high quality model, one of the newer ones like GPT 5.4, it generally is very good at following instructions and coming up with plans and so on. Like if like with the harness work that I've been doing, for example, I just have a single agent with many skills and many tools and some detailed instructions around, you know, what to do around when it's planning. You know, where like in planning mode, for example, so I have instructions that tell it to go and you know, ask questions from the user if you need clarification, come up with a plan, write the plan to memory, come up with a to-do list, etc. And once the user has approved and switch to execute mode, I change the instructions to execute instructions, and I say, okay, now don't ask the user because you know, the user has said they're ready, they're okay, use your best judgment, execute the plan, make sure to, you know, make sure to check that all of the to-dos are complete. And you can use things like we have like a feature now where you can keep on reinvoking the agent until certain criteria is satisfied. For example, until all of the to-dos are complete, or until you have like an AI judge that is happy with the result. It'll just keep on reinvoking the agent and said, oh, actually, this is not finished yet. You need to do more, like there's more to-dos to complete, or, you know, you didn't satisfy this user requirement or whatever. So there's, even without Magentic, you know, even with just the harness agent, which is just a single agent, typically, I found really good results, but typically it required a good model. When I used like an older, you know, smaller, like I think at some stage I was using 4.1 mini, and the results were not great. It would often not follow the instructions correctly. It would leave to-dos uncompleted. It would do things in, like, might ask a question in execute mode, or it might immediately start executing in planning mode, or this kind of nonsense. But yeah, I think so. I think it, you know, that's one option. Obviously, is just, you know, do something like what we've done with harnesses. I think my knowledge of Magentic isn't that great. I don't know if there's somebody on the call from the team who might be able to, you know, give an opinion on how well that fits the scenario that you have.
I mean, it's a Magentic said there's a goal driven. Let's say if I have a research agent and I have a reviewer agent, and then then what it does is we don't have to tell it, hey, do this and go here. We give it a go, and then we put a iteration gaps. Hey, don't do more than 10 iterations. Or when you receive the go, stop it so that we are not incurring cost. And then it goes and does its job. So here, like one of the scenarios is that, you know, the user wants to get an order status, right? So now we parse it, we found we have already tuned the model to extract the order ID. Now I know that the best thing is I don't need to do vector search. I can just go and call an API, connect to Oracle NetSuite or SAP, get the thing. But even then, it fails, it needs to know it's because something is wrong. So something iterative that says, okay, here are the best things to do to meet the user's intent, and first get the plan and let the user add or modify. And then when the plan executes, find out the issues, again, ask for user input, and have that kind of a loop is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So you're not looking for like a fixed workflow as such. You're looking for something that'll adapt as needed.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think looking at the harness work definitely might make sense. And giving it a go. I think, you know, like the language that I have in, like for example, with the mode switching, the default modes that we have is plan and execute, and they're fairly strict around, in execute mode, don't ask questions, keep going until you're done, etc. But all of that is configurable. If you don't like the default instructions that are there and the language around it, you can create your own modes and change it. And you can supply, modes that are a little bit more flexible and say, well, keep going, except in these cases where I do want you to come back to the user, even though if you're in execute mode, or you can provide more scenario-specific instructions. You know what your scenario is, of course, and you can tune it by changing the instructions per mode, etc. It sounds like a reasonable, fit for the type of open-ended use case that you have. Also, like if there's a lot of different scenarios that you want to be able to cover with this agent, using skills is also a really good way of dealing with that, because you don't want to overload the agent with every possible instruction that might exist. So being able to say, well, being able to let the agent load the instructions for dealing with a specific user ask as needed is really useful. And skills obviously provides that capability.
Yeah, mine, it'll be kind of, let's say I have one API call, two API calls, maybe one vector search or a graph query. So the combinations are not that many. So within that, I want the agent to make intelligent decision and not do the repeatedly the same old RAG and come back and do.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, the smarter models generally tend to be quite good at making smart decisions, the more advanced models, but obviously they're also more expensive. So having skills that can encode some of this knowledge that you have is really useful. Like, you've already given some examples that, okay, well, in this scenario, I don't want you to go and make this call and that call because it's unnecessary. Well, put that in a skill, because, maybe you can get away with a simpler model in that case, because it can just read the skill and follow the instructions.
Okay. And which example so you think the agent harness is a good way to approach this with skills?
Yeah, in fairness, the agent harness is just a collection of features. Those features are all available to you to put in your own agent as well. And I would recommend having a look at it. You have been talking about planning, so check out the mode provider that the agent harness comes with, where you have planning and execution modes. There's a bunch of features in there that could be interesting for you, either on their own or as part of the harness. The harness comes with a lot of stuff included. You can switch a lot of it off if they don't make sense, which may be a good thing as well. If you don't need a feature, it's definitely a good idea to switch it off, because it reduces the number of tools that are advertised, which reduces your cost ultimately. But it's definitely a good place to start and play around with and see if it has the functionality that you're looking for. And then you can either go with that, with a reduced set of features tailored to what you need, or you can pick the features that you want and build your own, assemble it into your own agent, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone from the team have anything to add to that? Maybe Roger, Tao, Giles, any thoughts? Anything I might have missed? I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, I think it's well covered, Wesley.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. Rasmus is just pointing out there, creating issue in the repo seems to have some failing workflows. Oh dear. We'll have to have a look at that. Thanks for calling it out, Rasmus. It didn't stop you from creating the issue, I assume.
No, it just came afterwards, not being able to put in the extra labels. So
okay.
Not a big deal, but seems like someone lost their credentials.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for opening the WebSocket issue as well. And thanks for the agreement there, Rasmus. Sounds more like a harness than a workflow thing. That was what I was thinking as well. And I would try to make a proof of concept with Codex or Hermes, first for skills in NCP, and if you can handle it, begin to bring your own harness in math around a specific scenario. Well, I would definitely recommend trying our harness samples as well. To start with, they are generally quite easy to use and are just with making some basic changes to the instructions and adding a couple of tools, you should have a pretty good experience out of the box as well. And yeah, any other questions from folks? If not, we can finish early today, but happy to give it another minute or so if somebody has a last minute thing they're thinking of. While we're waiting, I'll just share again a link to some of the harness samples that we have on the chat. I don't know, Raj, if you're using .NET or Python or either. But I'll share.
I'm using .NET, yeah.
Okay. I'll share the .NET one then. So the sample that I'm just posting here is for a research agent using the harness.
Yes, I saw this one. Yes.
Yeah, and you can easily add MCP tools to that as well and change the instructions. If you change the instructions to your instructions, the thing you care about or the feature you care about, that should already go a long way. You know, you can add like we're adding a web browsing tool here, which is just a sample. It's maybe, it's a little bit problematic, the web browsing tool as part of the sample, because it does get blocked by a lot of websites because it realizes that it's not a human. There are ways around it, but this is just a sample, so we haven't tuned it. But you can obviously add your own MCP tools there, or whatever tools. You can also, the harness also has an option for adding skills by just providing a skill source, and you can add a skill source that points at a folder where all the skills are, and play around with the idea I was talking about there earlier.
Yeah, I think, from a web search, I've used Taveli or Surpass, so they kind of do a good job, so
Yeah,
I can use them as a tools. And then I can have my APIs as a skills and say that, okay, if I need to look up an order, use the skill so that it knows to call the API to SAP or, I could use, I'll try that combination.
Yeah. There's one. Let me just. I can show something else briefly as well. Do you? Can you see? Yeah. Can you see my browser?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the sample. You can obviously change these instructions here to kind of contain what you're interested in. The other thing about this, the harness agent comes with web search switched on by default.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about it last time.
Okay,
in this,
okay.
Yeah, we have to explicitly say don't use it, right?
Yeah. So if you don't want to use this web search, then yes, definitely opt out. But it's also there in case you want to use it. And it only gets switched on, of course, if the underlying service supports it. In this case, it's Foundry Responses, which does. But yeah, you can switch it off and add a different web search via tool. And I'm not showing it here, but in I believe as part of the there's the build your own cloud as part of the blog series that I'm looking at, and I think it's the third one, scaling your capabilities, that we have skills and just showing how to integrate that. Let me just see here. Here's the agent being created, and I'm actually disabling the built-in skills provider and then providing my own skills provider here.
So the generic, if you say disable agent skill provider, it automatically disables the search and all that. Is there an overriding thing to say don't use the thing? Is the overriding turn off?
No, skills is just about loading skill content, like skill instructions and so on. And you can have different skill sources. You can have disk, you can have like an MCP server that you get skills from. You can have lots of different locations. The default built-in option just loads from the local directory. So if there are any skills under the local running directory or below, it will load it automatically. You don't have to do anything. But I actually here in the sample is using a skills builder, skills provider that I'm building using a skill builder, which uses file skills, but also adds MCP skills from Foundry. So you can actually publish MCP skills into Foundry via Foundry Toolbox, and then this will download them on each run in order to just pull the latest skills from there and incorporate them into your agent. And then I'm just creating an agent skills provider and passing it in as a context provider. Because most of these features are just AI context providers. You can use them in your own agent as well. It's not a harness agent exclusive feature. None of them are.
Okay.
It's just a way of assembling all of these different features together. Like it's essentially an opinionated chat client agent with a lot of features included already that gives you a good experience out of the box.
Okay. And then where do you change the plan mode, execution mode? Is it every time you call the agent, or where do you say I want plan mode and then change it?
So the way that, let's talk about the feature first, maybe. Let's go to mode provider. So this is also an AI context provider, agent mode provider. So you can basically new it up and pass it as an AI context provider to any of your agents, and you get this mode switching capability. When you create the mode provider, there is an options class that you can provide.
Okay.
And that options class, let's just open up that as well. That has just instructions for telling it how mode should work. And then it has a list of modes that you can supply. And each of those come with a name and its own instructions. And there's some default built-in ones that, let me just show you that. So the default built-in ones are these two, plan and execute, and these are the instructions for plan, and these are the instructions for execute.
Okay.
And the mode provider will store the current mode in the current session. So you pass in the session object, and that contains whether it's in plan mode or execute mode, and the whole stack will essentially use that in order to decide which instructions to inject into the LLM. Is it planning instructions or execute instructions, etc. You can also fetch the agent mode provider from the agent. So on AI agent, there's a get service method. You can call get service with, it's a generic method, so you can call get service in generic brackets agent mode provider, and you'll get back the agent mode provider for that stack. And on agent mode provider, there is a get mode async and a set mode async, so that from outside of the agent, you can basically find out what is the current mode and you can change it. So this allows you in your own UX to switch the mode based on the user instruction.
Okay.
Yeah, but this mode provider also injects a function tool somewhere here. Let me see, where is it? Here, for example, it injects a mode get and a mode set function tool. So the LLM can get the mode and set the mode if needed. So a user can actually tell the LLM, oh, the agent, hey, can you change to execute mode? And it should call mode set and do it. Come to think of it, this might make sense to make it possible to switch this off as well if you don't want the LLM to be able to switch. If you go and look at, in our samples again, if you go and look at the harness samples, there is the harness shared console code, which is essentially a sample that you can copy and modify if you want, and it's essentially a text UX for harness, and it includes mode switching, but it also includes like one possible way in which you can do enforce a specific UX while you're in planning mode. Because in planning mode, typically you want one of two things to happen. One is that the agent should come back with clarifying questions, and they should preferably have multi-choice options that the user can easily pick them, or a free-form option. Or you want it to just say, yes, I'm done, approve this, approve this plan. Here's the plan, approve it.
Yes.
So what this does, amongst other things, is, sorry, not commands, but observers. In observers, it has a planning output observer, which is a plugin for the harness console that will work with the agent mode provider that's on the agent. And if it is in planning mode, it will inject a configuration setting on each request to ask for a structured output that is in the format of this planning response type. The planning response type enforces that exact output that I was just talking about. It can either have a type of where it has follow-up questions, or it can, or it could be an approval type thing where it comes back with, here's the plan, and I just want it approved. So it can come back with a clarification or an approval. And then based on that, it might have follow-up questions with a message and choices and so on. So so it injects the structured output demand if it's in planning mode. If it's in execution mode, it doesn't do anything of the sort. And then it can render in planning mode a specific UX. Here at the bottom somewhere, it parses the output, and it when it comes back, and it produces this clarification UX and so on.
This is exactly like, like for example, the plan comes out, okay, I'm going to do a search in SAP, but the user now say, no, I don't want you to do it, right? So they can toggle off, and then they can add instruction. Now it takes that input, further ask clarifying questions, and when the user is ready, yeah, go do this, they say, okay, execute, then now it can convert entire plan into an execution.
Yeah, exactly. And here as well, what it does is if it is coming back with an approval request, as in the, here we go. So the LLM said, okay, I am asking for approval. The response, structured output type is approval. We fetch the first question. And then we build this approval action. And that looks like approve and switch to execute mode is kind of we produce, well, we take the question message, we provide the choices that we've built, which is essentially just approve or type in more text, and then if the user, based on the user output, we'll call mode provider.set mode. If the user selected approve, we essentially call mode provider.set mode with execution mode, and write out switch to execution mode, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how I'm designing. I just put your little screenshot where the agent comes back with a plan and the user picks or adds comments and then it goes back. So this is the prototype that I'm building.
Yeah. So, this is obviously text-to-X, which may not be appropriate for most users, but I feel like it's a good example of what you could potentially do to build a good experience for users. That makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's very useful.
I think, yeah, we're at time. I hope I didn't miss any questions. If I did, please shout. Otherwise, thanks everyone for your time today, and hope to see you all again next week.
Thank you, everyone.